Welcome to Badger Bigs, presented by the Varsity Collective, the only podcast that highlights the joy of iconic Madison landmarks and brings you in-depth conversations with some of the biggest Badgers of today and generations past about life as a super-sized athlete in their sports on campus and beyond. Hi, I'm former Badger offensive lineman Joe Thomas.
And I'm former Badger women's basketball player Annie Thomas.
And for this podcast, we're proud to be partnering with the Varsity Collective, an NIL collective led and backed by University of Wisconsin alumni, former Badger student athletes like us, and Badger fans everywhere.
The Varsity Collective's mission is to support current Badger student athletes on the field, in the community, and in life. And if you want to learn more and help support Badger student athletes, then visit thevarsitycollective.com and register for the newsletter. Today, we're excited to welcome a special Badger student athlete, offensive lineman Jack Nelson, to the podcast.
Yeah, and later on in the show, we'll also be joined by a true Badger big. Once upon a time, she was a Wisconsin pole vaulter, and her journey since has taken her onto the TV screen with Bravo and to the world of veterinary medicine. Dr. Tara Clack Bell is here to talk about everything from track and field to reality television and more. But for now, let's jump into our conversation with number 79 offensive lineman for the Badgers, Jack Nelson.
Jumping right into it, now this offseason will be a little bit different for you because you have a coaching change. This was highly, we've talked about it a lot in the media. What are your thoughts and what are you most looking forward to getting back now with Coach Fickell?
I'm just super excited to get it rolling. I mean, this isn't my first coaching change at O-line. Obviously, we had one last year, and that one was super sad just because, you put in so much time with this one person, and then you find out that, things are changing. And so that was super emotional, but I think this one kind of, since I've been through it before, it's not as emotional and just kind of that readiness to get going. Super excited to get that coach in there and, get all the guys together and really start putting something together there.
After dealing with a coaching change one time, is it a little bit easier to kind of handle that transition and that change now that you've actually dealt with it before? Because for me, the first time you have a head coach that gets fired or that leaves, or you have your offensive line coach, it's almost like losing somebody in your family, right?
For sure. I mean, I tell you what, when we lost Coach Rudy after that bowl game, that was my first coaching change, and he recruited me, and it was that really hit home. But as you get back into it, and then we had Coach Bo, and that was awesome. And you start working with him, learning him, all his different stuff, and it was great. And then, find out that he's got to move on too. And it's sad, absolutely, but you understand that, you have good times with this coach, but then that new coach is going to come in and it's just going to restart. And, it's a great opportunity to kind of start over.
And now you're in a unique situation because not only can you lean on your brother for support during this, but you can also talk to your dad. How has your family helped you through this transition? Yeah,
my dad's been incredible because, I think he went through 3 head coaching changes himself. So he kind of, told me how to, it's going to be sad, but, this isn't the end of the world. Because it really does feel like it's the end of the world. This guy that's been leading you and your team recruited you. You see him every day for the past 3 years, and all of a sudden you're not going to see him anymore. And it really does feel like your world's falling apart. But my dad kind of, told us, it's the long run, everyone knows, the boosters and the program and everyone, this is a decision that hasn't been made lightly, and to trust the program that if they're, if they're that serious to start making serious changes like that after a couple of losses, that should, he told me that should really, make you feel good that you have a program that really aspires to be a dominant and productive program, that they're willing to make changes like that. So, that kind of gave me some comfort knowing that we had the support of, the program and everybody around us, the families. And, like I said, it was sad. There was a lot of emotions, but as the emotions go, you kind of get excited for what's to come and what we can bring. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's to come is Coach Fickell being installed as the head coach here. Now he's been around for a couple months. He's starting to get his feet under himself. He's starting to put that culture down, and certainly a lot of that is going to be this offseason when you guys start back towards the end of January. But what has been Coach Fickell's message since he got there, and has he kind of brought some clarity and stability into the minds of your teammates in the era of the transfer portal? So what has kind of been Coach Fickell's message thus far?
When Coach Fickell when he first came in, those first couple of days, he made an emphasis of that it's, the team isn't just one person, one coach, or one guy. it's all of us together, and we need to stick together. And, you know, hitting that transfer, you just got to kind of, he asked for some blind faith. He has to just kind of see it out for a little bit. And I think that was great. I mean, I think people just got to trust the process a little bit and give him a chance. And that's what he did. And then from such then on, he's kind of taken not really a huge role. He's kind of been getting things going in the background, you know, trying to put together the staff, that kind of stuff, transfers and such, and kind of let Coach Leonard kind of finish the season out, which I thought was awesome because, you know, you can't just switch a whole coaching staff right in the middle of this. You know, we still had a couple games to play, or at least we just had the bowl game at least. So he was at practice. He would talk to the team. We'd be in team meetings and slowly but surely kind of bringing his new coaching in. But he really let Coach Leonard finish the season out, which I thought was awesome. And so I'm really excited here to get back and really, you know, hit it full go here.
I'm curious from a player's perspective. I know on the outside, a lot of Badger fans are excited about the players that Fick has brought in through the transfer portal already, specifically at the quarterback position. What's been the reaction among your buddies, your text groups, people in the locker room to some of the guys that he's brought in through the transfer portal?
I mean, as far as the O-line, I know we're fired up. We just got Jake Renfro. Me and Tanner Bordolini and Sean Timmis, we got to take him on a visit. Super fun. Got to become close buddies with him, and now we're fired up. He's coming here. Tanner Mordecai, got to meet him a couple days ago on a visit. Super great guy. I mean, as far as the O-line is, we're fired up. And I got to assume that's the rest of the team. Everyone's really kind of itching to get back here and really kind of wait to see things take shape because it's super, super exciting. And I mean, Coach Fickle, especially with that bowl game, I mean, I remember he was giving us a little talk before the game and just the attitude and the fire, and really gets fired up. It just really is intoxicating. I think that kind of spread to the rest of the team, and everyone's kind of on the edge of their seat, waiting to come back here and really see everything full go.
And we usually talk about the offensive line being a brotherhood. I mean, you guys are a very special group of people. You get blamed for most of the things. You don't get credit for a lot of the good things. What is it like to actually have your brother being a part of that core group with you playing? I can't imagine playing at such a high level with one of my siblings.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm super thankful for it. It's one of my favorite things in the world. I mean, that guy's awesome. He's always over at my house. He's always hanging out. I mean, it's funny because he is my brother and I grew up with him, but I don't really think about it like that because we're all so close in this O-line. It's really amazing. He's just another one of the guys, and it's just kind of awesome to have that guy to go home with and kind of just be with all the time, and I can kind of show him, you know, my experiences and how maybe I could help him. And I mean, it's really awesome. That guy's awesome, and just our group, this O-line, is just the tightest group that I want to say we have to be the tightest in the country because everyone's always together. I mean, I see these guys every day. If we're not at the stadium together, you know, we're at someone's house together, we're at some restaurant together. It's awesome. I mean, super, super close-knit group. And I think that's really helped this transition with the coaching staff is just everyone's in it together.
Being one of the leaders on this team, having a brother on the team, I imagine you're probably one of the guys that the coaching staff likes to have host recruits when they do come into town. So I'm curious, where do you like to take the recruits when you're hosting them? And how does it work with you and your brother getting those guys and trying to make sure that they understand Wisconsin is the best program in the country and it's the place for them?
Yeah, I have hosted quite a few visits in my time. I mean, I'm just so close, and I've been around Madison my whole life. And the first thing I like to do is, you know, after we're at that dinner with them and the coaches and their families, then we get them, and I'll take them straight to State Street and just kind of walk them down the State Street and show them, here it is, guys. Like, this is kind of the heart and soul. Like, if you want to have a good time, if you're looking for some food, if you're looking to do anything really, I mean, this is where you're going to come. And kind of show them everything. Then maybe walk down Langdon a little bit and show them the lake. And then, you know, if they see something that they want to explore, somewhere's, you know, got a lot of people partying it up. I mean, they want to go check it out. I'd be like, yeah, man, let's go check it out. Like, I'll show you. It's just awesome. State Street, it makes my job so easy. I mean, everything's in one big center, and, you know, all the experiences in the world, it feels like.
Now, going back to State Street, Joe and I talked a little bit about when we were dating. He took me on elaborate dinners, and that's not true. He would wait to see what my voucher was for the day, and then when I would call him and say that my voucher, then he was like, "Yes, that's where we're going." What is your favorite place when you see the vouchers? Where is your go-to spot?
Well, it used to be Potbelly right on State Street there.
Oh, Potbelly's. You could get 2 sandwiches for a $12 voucher back in the day, man. One for me, one for my date.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Couldn't get any extra peppers though.
But actually, I think just this last season, Sophie, our nutritionist, she got Metcalf's, the grocery store down in Hilldale, on our voucher, and I've never been in there until we got the voucher on that, and that place is incredible. I mean, the deli in there with all the different kinds of meats. I mean, we'll go in there with our money and just pool it and get a bunch of all sorts of weird exotic food and try to cook it up. I mean, we tried oysters the other day. Those didn't turn out too well, but tried cooking some
I
weird.
can't imagine cooking oysters in my dorm room. Nope.
Oysters that didn't turn out. No thanks. I'm not good with that.
We didn't eat them. Those had to go to the trash. I like Metcalf's. It's super nice. Lots of options.
Your dad was a heralded Badger offensive lineman. He actually got drafted in 1989. I think they're the Cardinals. So I've got my own son who's 6 years old, and he's really getting into football. He loves the game. And one thing that I'm concerned with is that people are always going to measure his football career up to what I did. And it's going to give him this pressure that he's going to always feel like he has to live up to like whatever anybody else's expectations are. I'm curious from your perspective, did you ever feel that pressure being that your dad was a great offensive lineman when you were growing up, especially growing up in the Madison area?
I mean, pressure, maybe not so much pressure, but I definitely my path was very clear to me. And I mean, my dad made it, even in recruiting, I mean, everyone always thought did your dad make you go to UW? But it couldn't be further from the truth. I remember when I got offered, I wanted to commit right away. But my dad was he's like, oh, just slow down there. But, yeah, I mean, it's not so much pressure. It's just more of kind of in fact, I kind of feel like it kind of gives me a sense of confidence, because I know if my dad did it, if my dad could do it, I know that somewhere that's in me and I'm able to do it. So all I've got to do is just, stay on the right track, and my dad will help me out, and just kind of listen to him, listen to my coaches, and, just stay on the path that I've been told to be on by people who've already done it, like my dad. So, yeah, I mean, of course that pressure's there sometimes, but I wouldn't say it's something that I think about very often. It's, I'm very thankful to have a dad that, played here and was successful here, and he really helps me out with it. But I wouldn't say that pressure is too much on my mind ever.
I'd say there's probably a lot of pressure on your mom on game days, because thinking of having two children on the same team, what is the jersey selection like for her? Who does she choose? Her favorite son that week, the one that checked in? Who does she decide to rep that week?
Well, we were actually talking about this, and since she doesn't want to pick one jersey number to wear, she'll just dress up in some. She's got all sorts of crazy Badger themed outfits, like some kind of big red fur jacket or something like that. And,
that sounds
she's got
very familiar in our household.
I think my mom can let your mom borrow hers if she ever needs an extra one. Very warm red fur jackets. Not easy to find, but when you have one, it's definitely not worth anything in the resale market.
Nope.
Oh yeah. But yeah,
not a hot market for a red fur coat. No, not here.
It's always great having family support, especially somebody that's right down the street. And growing up in Stoughton, Wisconsin, you obviously know the Madison area really well. Is there a spot on campus that when you close your eyes and you're like, yeah, that's my favorite spot, it just really pops into your mind?
I'm gonna have to say Potbelly again. Just kind
wow.
Yeah, that State Street area. I mean, I tell you what, we went to Potbelly daily, just as the whole group in the dorms especially. I mean, we had a fleet of mopeds. I'm talking like at least 8 guys on their mopeds, and just flying down, parking right on that little hill, right by Potbelly.
Uh-huh.
And, I mean, we just sitting there for hours at a time, get hungry again, go up and order a shake or, some mac and cheese, another sandwich, and just hang out there and go back to the dorm. I mean, I spent a lot of time in that Potbelly Potbelly building. Spent a lot of time in there. But
I just have to say that this is the most offensive lineman answer I think we could have gotten from anybody. Is Potbellies for hours and hours of Potbelly time.
I'm wondering what the millions of dollars check looks like from Potbellies for NIL money for you mentioning Potbellies at least 7 times on this podcast.
He's wearing a Potbellies hat, I think. That's what it is.
Yes, you can't tell exactly because he's up north doing some snowmobiling, enjoying the winter in Wisconsin. But what are some of your favorite things about just going to school at Madison and being close to so many amazing things that you learned about growing up in this area?
Well, I think it's just the city itself. I mean, I love the city. I mean, I've been to other cities, just, going on vacation or away games or bowl games, that kind of thing. But I mean, I've talked to other people that play for different schools and, my buddies from home that go to college in different cities. But I mean, nothing compares to Madison, in my opinion. I mean, you got the lakes right there. The Capitol is just gorgeous. I mean, when I'm driving into town from home, I can see the Capitol off in the distance. I mean, it's coming in on John Nolan right there too. It's just, I mean, it's beautiful. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. I mean, it's, sometimes it gets really cold, sometimes it gets really hot, but I wouldn't want it any other way. I mean, it's just a city full of amazing people. There's amazing views, like especially up on Observatory Drive. I mean, if you're ever feeling down, you just go up there and just kind of park your truck and look out there. It's gorgeous. I mean, sometimes I can't believe that, I get to live in the city and play football here for this college. It's awesome. I'm very thankful to be here.
Now, speaking of the extreme weathers, what would you rather play in? 90 degrees at the end of August or 25 degrees and snowing in November? 25
degrees, no doubt. No doubt.
You are an offensive
lineman. A true offensive lineman. I love it.
True and true.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, some of those fall camp practices on the grass out there when it's humid, that's in my opinion, I'd rather play when it's negative, 30, no sleeves on than just feeling like you're about to melt. Because, I mean, I sweat a bunch, so you get all sweaty and, just the sweat squishing up out of your cleats during the camp practices. I'd rather be cold. I'd rather be colder than super hot. That's for sure.
When your Badger football career is all said and done, is there a memory that you think is going to stick out and maybe possibly a memory that is yet to come?
I mean, just looking back on it, I'd say the time with the guys, just time spent in that old line room, waiting for the coach to come in there for meetings. Everyone's in there a couple minutes early and you get the good 5 minutes to just chit chat and, talking back and forth. I mean, that's really what it is for me. I think I could say all sorts of different games, like, beating Iowa last year, playing next to Tanner Borlini, my roommate, this year. I mean, I could say all those things that people would expect, but I think it really is just kind of getting to do it with your best friends. And I'll forever remember that. I mean, just getting to see those guys every day, it truly is awesome.
I'll let you go on this one, and we really appreciate you being on the show today. But when things are all said and done, what do you want to accomplish in your last few years as a Badger?
I want to win Big Ten championship. I think Coach Fickell's the man. I think this team is extremely talented. And, I think all we have to do is just kind of put it together here. And I really want to win that Big Ten championship. And I think that's something we can definitely do. So that's definitely my goal.
Well, you're not the only person on this podcast that's excited to hear that. And we also believe that Coach Fickell has this program headed in the right direction, building an unbelievable culture. So, Jack Nelson, thanks for being on the Badger Bigs podcast. It was truly our pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
And now we have the privilege of being joined by the fantastic Dr. Tara Clack Bell. You may have seen her on Bravo's 100 Days of Summer, but what you may not know is that before she became a veterinarian, Tara used to be a pole vaulter for the Badgers. We're excited to talk to her about her days in Madison, her passion for working with animals, and more. So don't forget, if you want to get involved, you can learn more about helping to support Badger student athletes at thevarsitycollective.com.
And now joining us on the Badger Bigs podcast is Dr. Tara Clack Bell. Tara was a former UW Badger track star for Wisconsin. Tara, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And now, Tara, we talked a little bit before the show. I wanted to talk about how you got into track, because originally you were going to walk on to Wisconsin for a totally different program.
Yeah, so in high school, I was actually a better swimmer than a track and field athlete. So my senior year, I was going to walk on the swim team. I met with the coaches at UW. I was going to walk on, and then I had a pretty decent senior year of track. And my high school coach was like, hey, I was kind of one of those jack of all trades, master of none. So I was okay at like hurdles, high jump, a couple of different events, 4x4, but not great at anything. So he was like, I think you could really walk on the track and field team as a heptathlete. So until about the end of my track and field season, senior year, my whole plan was to walk on as a swimmer.
So did you pole vault in high school? Did you try it in high school?
So we did not actually have it at my high school. Back then, it had just begun an NCAA sport when I was at Wisconsin. So no, I was a hurdler, high jumper, and like 4x4 runner. So I'd never tried pole vault.
How was that conversation the first time they showed you where you were going to jump and hurdle yourself through the air? I mean, were you like, absolutely not, I thank you so much for the opportunity, but I will be walking away from this?
Do you guys remember Cool Runnings? Do you
Yes,
remember in the beginning
yes.
of Cool Runnings when John Candy's showing them what like bobsled is,
Absolutely.
and
I'm
it's all the
picturing that
crashes
with
and the
Tara.
people like dying, and then the lights come on, there's like one person left. Was that your experience
Yes.
when they introed pole vault to you?
100%,
So-
yes.
The crazy thing about it is it was my idea. So I was a heptathlete for 2 years. My third year at UW, I was like, I was not a very good heptathlete. I didn't feel like I was going to ever be a really good heptathlete. And, I had two good friends who were pole vaulters. And I'm like, I just feel like that's my niche. Upper body strength, I had that from swimming. I did gymnastics and dance growing up. So I feel like I was flexible, kind of knew body awareness. So I actually asked my coach, I'm like, hey, can I just try this? And she's like, we've invested 2 years in the heptathlete. Like, I don't think it's really smart to start over as a junior with a brand new event you've never tried. So I was like, no, I get that. So that summer, I asked some of the male decathletes, I'm like, can you just show me how to vault? Like, just show me it. I'll just try it for fun and see what happens. So that summer before my junior year, some of the guys decathletes showed me. And then by the end of this, and I was very blessed that I picked up on it. Now, I definitely had those, like, when you fall into the standards and you fall back on the track. I mean, I definitely had lows where being like, what am I thinking? Like, what am I thinking? But then by the end of the summer, I was vaulting pretty high, and my coaches called them out. They came out to the track, and they're like, you're a pole vaulter. And it was like, just like that.
Can you let everybody at home who doesn't know the history of your pole vaulting career, how things ended up at Wisconsin for you, and then what was your decision after you graduated about trying to continue pole vaulting potentially in the Olympics?
I only got to do pole vault for 3 years in college, and I really wish I would have started younger because it would have been fun to see how far I could have gone. But my senior year of college, I got second in the Big Tens. So I was pretty excited. There was a girl from Purdue that was just phenomenal. So I was very pleased with second place. And then I had a fifth year. My indoor, I had a injury the previous year. So indoor, I didn't have a season, but I had an outdoor year my fifth year. And that was in 2003. And that's when I won the Big Ten. So it was kind of when I had all my PRs. I kind of just peaked that year. Made it to NCAAs. I think I was about 15th or 16th at NCAAs. And then I had the pleasure of going to the USATF track meet, which is kind of a combination of college and professional. And I tied for, I think, 15th there. So the next year, so I was pleased. It was a great year. And I kind of felt like I was, I only had 3 years to do this. So I kind of wanted one more year to see what would happen. And at the time I was applying to medical school. I ended up switching to vet school. So, or actually at the time I was going to vet school, applying for vet school. So I had some classes to take anyway. So I was going to be sticking around, taking some prereqs for vet school. So what happened is, talked to the coaches, and, I think my PR was 13.5.5. And if you got 14 feet, you got to go to Olympic trials. So I talked about the men's and the women's coach, and they're like, try it a year. You're back for school anyway. You're taking a few classes. So I never got the 14-foot mark, but I did train in 2004, just hoping to get to Olympic trials. So that was another fun year. But I think not being on the actual team, I was competing independently. That was hard for me because the team aspect is so important, and having the camaraderie and being part of the UW Badgers. And I think I just wasn't as committed as I was the years when I was actually on the team, and had the support and the camaraderie of all the teammates.
Was going to practice just so much fun every single day? It was seeing your best friends and working out with people that you would be working out with anyways.
Honestly, the track and field program I think is so amazing in the fact that you have an indoor and outdoor season. So you've got indoor, and then once you get outdoor, the men and women were combined at the time. Now they might be combined the whole time, but it was so fun. I mean, you're doing workouts, but it's your best friends. Again, like you said, you'd work out with anyway. You got to travel all around the country. We actually went to Europe one summer. There was about 12 or 14 of us that went to Europe for a few weeks and competed. So it was the best experience of my life. I made some of my best friends, which, as you know, are still my best friends there. And I wouldn't take anything back for anything. It was the very hard workouts, very, there's stressful times, obviously, during competition. But for the most part, it was just working out with your friends and doing your best.
Are there any memories that really stick out in your mind when you kind of reflect back on your time as a Badger track athlete?
I just remember, some of the best memories are even like in the weight room, in the, training room, just the everyday life. I mean, we had such an amazing experience where, like you said, we got to work out with our best friends, traveling. We went to California all the time. And I was very blessed that the pole vault was on a Friday night. So I always competed Friday. And then I had Saturday, Sunday to do literally nothing but just sit and watch, compared to my heptathlete days, which were, was a 2-day thing. So I can't think of one memory in particular, but I think it's just, literally some of my best friends right now, most of my best friends are from those days, from my college track days and my UW days. And just the amount you get to travel and things you never would have gotten to do if you weren't on. It would have been much harder to do if you weren't on an athletic program.
The Badger community is so close-knit, and you ended up actually marrying a Badger, a football player, Mark Bell, but you didn't meet him on campus. You met him in Chicago later. Was it at a Badger event?
So that is, again, a very nice thing about being, a UW graduate, but in the athletic, department in general, in that athletic world, is that, exactly, I knew of him in college. He was a little younger than me, so I always joke like I didn't go shopping off the freshman rack when I was older. So no, I didn't know him in college, but he may have known me. Because
I'm sure he knew you.
I was a few years older. I was a few years older. So, you don't usually go looking at the younger guys. But so fast forward, my goodness, probably 8 or 9 years, maybe 10 years. And we're in Chicago, and I'm with a former track college athlete, Courtney Ness, still one of my best friends. And we had a charity event called the Candy Cane Ball, and he was giving a speech. So we exchanged numbers, and the rest is history. But the networking is so huge with UW, and especially within that athletic group. Networking, but also just everyone knows someone. So even now, going back to tailgates and things like that, or even our wedding, there were so many football players as groomsmen and track girls, and everyone knew each other, and we all had stories from college. So it's really fun being in that kind of elite group of college athletes. And but yeah, that's how I met him.
Kids, animals have always been a big part of your life. Now, you wrote a children's book a few years ago. So in addition to being a doctor and being a full-time mom, you had a little bit of free time. You're like, why don't I just write a book? Can you tell us what went into writing that book and give us a little bit of flavor around what it's like to write a children's book?
So I wrote kind of so I have 3 kids, so I have some background. But I've always been really good at rhyming, which doesn't really ever come in handy, except for if you're
rap battles?
Lip singing. I was going to say lip syncing.
If we're ever in a rap battle, I give up right away.
Bachelorette, I always wrote funny poems, whatever. I was always known for rhyming, right? So didn't really come in handy until now. And, I think it was 2 summers ago, I was just kind of playing around with some lyrics of it was just sarcastic parenting book of all the crazy kind of antics your kids pull on you. And I ended up just keep going, and I was just, it flowed like wine, right? Because my kids, all these scenarios my kids did. So it was actually super easy to write. And And I wrote this kind of like, 10 or whatever stanza poem. And I was like, this is actually pretty funny and actually like is very applicable to all parents of toddlers and young kids. So yeah, I found like a kind of independent publishing company. It's called I Love Your Stinky Toes. And it's on sale on Amazon and stuff. And then I'm also a veterinarian. So I just recently wrote like a dog one, which kind of has a similar concept, with puppies doing all these crazy things. So the first book, I Love Your Stinky Toes, kind of the end theme is, kids do all these crazy things. They drive you nuts, but the moral of the story is they're your kids, so you love them no matter what.
Now, when you take your crazy Bell children to
feral colony
of children, correct? Yes. When you take them onto campus, where is their favorite spot to go to, and is it the same as what your favorite spot was when you were a Badger?
So when we go to campus, it's almost always for a Badger game. So they love Camp Randall, right? They're not old enough. I haven't taken them to a lot of the other places. We've been to the Kohl Center and things like that, but they love Camp Randall. When you walk in and the vibe, particularly my 7-year-old son who loves playing football, just loves the Badgers. We love basketball. We love, obviously football. So I think Camp Randall will be our number one place.
Was that your favorite place on campus when you were there?
Well, if you're not counting Wando's and KK, yes, it was.
No, you can say those. That's allowed. There's no rules or restrictions here on the Badger Girls podcast.
Then I'd have to say Wando's and KK.
Absolutely.
Certainly the outdoor track, because I have to say that. But I think, those two bars were kind of our stomping ground.
And now when you drive past Elver, do you still get the chills and just have
like nausea,
ghost pains from running that?
No, not even just chills, like literally nausea. Like those 8 weeks were the hardest. It was every Wednesday. It was the hardest workout. I mean, but fluid would be coming out of every end of every person because they were so nervous and it was so hard. I'd have to say my least favorite place is Elver. Yeah, my most favorite is Camp Randall.
It is kind of haunting when you drive by Elver and you see that path just beaten into the side of the hill, and you just know the tears and the sweat that were left on that hill. It's very daunting.
It is. It's very daunting, and especially coming in as a walk-on. My freshman year, I was a walk-on, right? So coming in as a walk-on and trying to prove yourself, it's kind of like that Rudy mentality where you're working your butt off. So I mean, it was a very tough first couple of years, just trying to make myself a place on a team, and then, like I said, when I switched to pole vault, it got more comfortable, and then by my last couple of years, I was captain, so I could be like, I can just.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
So you grew up just on the north side of Madison. Was there ever any conversation or consideration to going somewhere else besides Wisconsin?
Growing up, yes, I was 25 minutes from campus. Growing up in DeForest or, Windsor, right there, I think it definitely played a role. I grew up going to Badger games, whether it was football or, basketball or whatever. So I always grew up as a hardcore Badger fan. My dad was a Badger. And then my sister, who is 2 years older than me, went to UW. So I think, I did apply to a few schools for swimming because at the time that was kind of going to be my track. But in my heart, I always wanted to be a Badger. And so, I never knew I was going to play a sport there until the very end. But it was always something, especially when my sister went there, it was a no-brainer. Like visiting her, going to games, like just growing up with that, it's just, you can't replace that experience.
You live just down the street now in between Madison and Milwaukee. How often are you getting back to campus in Madison, and what's the feeling like when it is game day and you're going to meet some of your Badger buddies from your days in school and you're finally getting back onto campus?
Yep, exactly. We just moved from Illinois about a year ago, and best decision of our lives for our family. But Mark and I, my husband and I, are particularly excited because we're closer to Wisconsin, closer to Madison. I definitely make it back a lot more now. It's an easy hour drive, and I do get the goosebumps, the chills every time I walk on campus. UW is my happy place. Some of my best memories I have are from that campus and that group, and we do a lot of tailgates. Tito's tailgate in particular, where we get a good alumni coming back and reminisce about old stories. So, now I look forward to those tailgates more than anything because it's a time to catch up with my girlfriends, catch up with old teammates, old colleagues, and kind of relive the old glory days for a bit.
So it's awesome having you on the show, Tara. You're a real Renaissance woman. Seems like you've done it all, right? Big Ten champion in the pole vault. You could have been world record holder in swimming, veterinarian, soon to be mother of 4. Now you're recently moved back to Wisconsin as a Badger, but you're also one of Bravo's biggest stars of all time on the show, 100 Days of Summer. So there's probably some people out there that for some reason did not watch the Big Ten championships on television at the time, but remember seeing you on the Bravo show 100 Days of Summer. So what was that experience like?
I can't even watch it without cringing. I mean, at the time I was single, so I would move to Chicago, and one of our friends, she knew the casting company, and they're like, hey, we're looking for groups of young girls. It's going to be like a kind of like a bachelorette single show in Chicago, like with professionals, like human professionals, like doctors and whatever. So, but I mean, it's Bravo, so let's take it with a grain of salt. So I'm like, I'll audition. This is fun, whatever. I'm single. Auditioned, and then it kind of just kept coming. They kept like having second and third audition, and I ended up getting picked. And at the time I was with Mark, my current husband, he's like, do not do this. Do not do this. He's like, this is not going to end well. Because of course everyone kind of has their character. So, I look back and it was fun. I mean, my kind of niche they played me as was like the desperate 30-year-old who wanted to get married, which there's always some truth in everything. But I was like, it could have been a lot worse, right? It could have been a lot worse. And so, we did it. It was fun. I mean, like one time my dad had it recorded and I turned it on and my kids saw it, just that like one little snip, and they're like, Mom, you're on TV.
You're a celebrity.
So unlike you, Joe, I'm not on TV every other day. So this is my only claim to fame, where my kids actually think I was cool at some point.
Because it is so hard to like hear yourself or watch yourself on TV, even if you've been an athlete on the highest level. Like, that's a different space. That's a different world that you're not used to living in. And I think you have to get over the same mental hurdles in the media world that you did when you were a kid playing youth sports and like playing in front of a crowd, playing in front of your parents, playing in front of your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Like, there are such emotional things that are wrapped up, and it takes a big person, and I think it's big life moments to be able to like kind of get over those hurdles. So I'm sure the time on Bravo was one of the biggest moments in your life as well. So that's no surprise. Dr. Tara Clack Bell, it's been a pleasure catching up with you. It's been really great having you on the Badger Big podcast, to be able to catch up with a true Badger Big. So thank you for coming on the show with us.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you, Tara. We love you.
Love you too.
I want to say a big thank you to Jack and Tara for joining us on the show today, and thanks to all of you for listening to Badger Bigs, presented by the Varsity Collective. I'm Joe Thomas.
And I'm Annie Thomas. And remember to stay tuned for the next episode. And in the meantime, learn how you can get involved with the Varsity Collective and support Badger student athletes at thevarsitycollective.com. And to stay in the loop on the latest updates, make sure to subscribe to the newsletter. We'll see you next time.